Today we're going to talk different lino blocks. Now, in the last few weeks, I have been trying every sort of lino block that I could get my hands on. And what I've done is with all of them, I've used a single tool, which is just this V tool, which you can't see very well there. And I've used block printing ink, and I've tried them all, trying to do some curves in each of the designs to see how they handle and what sort of results I get. So I'm going to start with this one. This came in a kit. I know a lot of people buy these kits when they want to get started. It's from Daravan, and it was quite nice to use. It's a double-sided piece, nice and thin, nice and flexible, and it gave me a nice print. So I did like that one. Only downside I've found is, well, there's two actually. One is it prints better with a barren. So when I'm saying I'm using this as a print, so the block gets inked up, put down, piece of paper goes on top, and then you rub the back of the paper and then lift it up to expose the print. I'm not putting them through a press, I'm just doing them hand printing. If you don't have a barren, this is a couple of dollars at an art supply store, but if you don't have one, you can also use a spoon, like just a dessert spoon out of the drawer, which I used. This one performed better with the barren, okay? So this is the print that I got from it. You know, it was really quick and easy to carve and really nice to use. So the next one I want to show you is this, which is the standard silk cut lino. And this is the one I'm most familiar with. When I was at college, it used to be a different colour, but other than that, it's exactly the same. So the hessian on the back keeps it all together, and you carve into it, and you know, it gives you your design. Now, it is a little bit harder to carve, but you know, again, it's not bad. You can get beautiful definition on it, and I'll show you the print. Now, this is my book. And I know this is a bit anal, okay? But yeah, this is where I'm keeping all my prints and my notes. It's a habit I started in college, and I just can't sort of break it after all these years. I have these books for all different things. But this is the print I did. Again, I limited my time, did them quite quickly. You can use a tool like this to get clean edges, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see what I could do just using this single tool. And that's the print I got. So it's really quite nice. You can get quite fine detail without a lot of effort. I then went through, it also takes up the ink really nicely. That was the first print. I did a 2-colour, and we'll ignore the poor registration, okay, because I just was doing it by eye, which is not too successful. But the only thing you find is when you actually start using it, it becomes a lot more flexible, okay? The more you use it, the more flexible it becomes. And I did get, I've got a little bit of crumbling happening in the middle here when I did the second cut. They can be a little bit hard to use. It's actually quite a hot day here today, so this feels quite warm. But on a cold day, it will be a lot harder to carve, so you need to pop it out in the sun. Some people put them in the microwave. I've never been a fan of that. I have, on a really cold day in a classroom, used a pair of tongs and held them over a boiling kettle. You know, I wouldn't recommend that either, but popping them in the sun for a few minutes works really well. It softens it up and makes it easier to carve. You'll get beautiful results, but it is harder on your hands to carve with it. So that one, not so much. It's not the easiest thing on the market, but you will get beautiful results. Now, the next one I want to show you is this stuff, which is, like, as you can see, it weighs a fair bit. And that's it in a little block. All right, so advantages and disadvantages with this one. This is it's relatively expensive in some ways. It's $4.50 for these little tiny ones, $4.50 Australian. But there are advantages too. Very, very easy to carve. Like you can see, no pressure at all, and you can take away things. So it's super easy to carve. I've actually used these in the classroom with 9-year-olds, and everyone found it easy to carve them. Double-sided, which makes them better value. And also, if you're using them in your journals and things, I have actually carved designs along edges and used them as a stamp. And because they're so heavy, you can actually use them as a stamp rather than as a print. So they're quite adaptable. I did use it as a print, obviously, here, but I didn't get the sort of results that I like. And again, it worked better with a Baron. It takes up the ink so well, you actually have to do a shadow print in between to get the excess off. Otherwise, it just builds up too much. But very easy to use and quite adaptable, just depending on what you want to use it for. Now, the next one I tried is this one, which I see everywhere, this Speedball Speedy Cut Easy. And I have to admit, not a huge fan. Like, really easy to carve. Again, I'll show you. Like, it's super easy to take stuff away. But you don't have the control. And also, it leaves this sort of, like you can see there, can you see it leaves a bit of a powdery stuff that you have to clean off, or else it gets in your ink. And look, I wasn't a big fan of it. I know I've had these for a little while, but even still, they just didn't have the same feel cutting, and because of that like powdery substance you get, I just didn't feel very comfortable with it. It's not as thick as the white, but again, it might work really well for the stamps. It's certainly very easy to carve. So that's that one. The one that I love though, and the one that I really like my results with, is this one. So this is, let me find a sheet. It's called Studio Double-Sided. So it's blue on one side, green on the other. And it's very easy to carve. I'll just carve a bit out here just to show you. So it's as easy as the others really, but you have a lot more control. You can get quite fine detail. And it's double-sided. So with this one, like this was the original print, which I don't really like because the balance of black and white's all out. But I purposely then wanted to do one on the other side, another more complex design, just to see how it would perform. And it performed beautifully. Okay, it really worked well considering there was a print on the other side. It printed out really nicely. Very easy to get good curves. All in all, I found this really adaptable, really easy to use, and it works really nicely. The other reason I liked it is because this is how I set up my prints. I use a white paint pen. This is a Posca one, or even one of these uni balls, right? And you can just sort of draw on them. And this is like a Stays Anywhere pen, which is like a Sharpie. So I can draw up my design and I get a good idea of the blacks and whites before I start carving. And that just helps me see where I'm going to have some problems. Like this is all looking a bit too complicated in here, for example, so I'll have to sort of play with that. But these draw up really nicely. This one also draws up quite well, but not as well. But what I do like is the two-tone thing means that you carve away and you can see really clearly where you've carved. So this is very user-friendly, nice and soft to print, nice and soft to carve, prints really well, works really well with both a Baron and a spoon, and all round was a good performer. So if I had to rank them, I'd say this one I like the best, this plain double-sided one. Then I would say the old silk cut. From there, I would have to say the Deravan one, which was really nice, but I can't find it. Then the Easy Carve, and my least favourite is this one. But if you have an art supply and you have to go get one, I'd say start with this one. I don't think you will regret it. It works beautifully for me. So I hope that's given you an idea of the different sorts of linos and advantages and disadvantages of all of them. And I'll see you next time.